Nice having you on here. Okay, so we're gonna get right into it.
All right.
A lot of people have a lot of different questions about real estate.
Okay.
So first off, can you clear up the whole belief of you have to have all the money up front when you buy a house?
Yeah, you know what? So back in the day, you know, probably back when our parents were buying homes, you did have to have, you know, maybe 20%, right?
Right.
In this new era, you know, a lot of things have moved around. So they had programs as low as 1% down. They had programs 3.5%, 5%. So no, you do not have to have 20% down to buy a home. That is no longer relative. And I'm not sure if one out of 20 or 30 people bring 20% because they have it.
Right.
And they just have disposable funds like that or just investable funds.
Right. Now, going through your program, is that something you guys introduce? Like, hey, you can sign up for this program, and you walk them through the steps?
Absolutely. So really probably about 90% of my clients are first-time home buyers.
Okay.
And therefore, I'm very, very patient, even extra patient with them because before I bought my first home, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what a lender was. I didn't know what a realtor did. I didn't know about down payment, closing costs. What was a title company? I didn't know any of those things. So when we do sit down with our clients, especially our first-time home buyers, but we sit down with everyone and go through the process, whether this is your 10th home or your first home, we sit down, go over the Scott Estates approach, and educate our clients on what they can expect from the very, very beginning to the very end. Also, we have lenders in-house that we work with very closely who are as patient as we are in educating our clients on the different programs and their different options that fit their financial scheme the best. Yeah.
Now, with that, what are some big, I wouldn't call them mistakes because it's like first-time home buyers, you can't consider them mistakes. What are some things that they would know coming in, like dealing? Once somebody contact you, how does the process normally go?
For sure, and I like that you rephrase it as mistakes, man, because you know you don't know till you know, right?
Right.
And how can it be a mistake if you didn't know that it was right or wrong?
Right.
So some of the things that you know I like to make sure that our clients know that, first of all, so I'm self-employed.
Okay.
Self-employed individuals who are looking to buy a home, be careful writing off so much of your income. Okay. Because now you don't want to pay so much in taxes, right? So you cut down on your income a little bit. But now what happens is when you go to show the bank, like, hey, I made X amount of dollars the last 2 years, they're like, no, you wrote that all off as expenses. So you didn't make that money. So now you go from, you know, maybe being able to afford a $200,000 home to being able to afford a $70,000 home, and obviously between $70,000 and $200,000, that's
a big difference.
Yeah, that's a different neighborhood. Yeah, that's a whole different environment. So that's one thing. Other things I would say pay attention to are obviously your credit.
Yeah.
You know, I know that that necklace, you know, at wherever it is, K's Jewelers or something like that.
Explain how important is credit when it comes to home.
Man, credit is king. No one cares about your cash. Straight up. No one cares about your cash. They don't know where your cash came from. They don't know if it's legal, illegal. They have no idea. But your credit, it's just almost like having street cred.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay.
Like, what's your history? Where have you been? What have you done? And your credit is traceable, all right, from legitimate companies. Your cash, 9 times out of 10, it can be, you know, fairly. You don't know where it came from. Yeah. So credit is king. I know cash helps in a lot of realms, but you know, if you're really talking about wealth, like real wealth,
credit. You need the line of credit.
Credit, yeah, man. You want to leverage that. You want to leverage, so you can keep your cash in your pocket for a rainy day or those trips, or if you want to go and, you know, do your thing. But that credit is going to really help you out.
And with having a home, there will be expenses that come up.
There you go. Exactly.
And that's on you. Like, and that's another thing with dealing with people that have apartment versus having a home or condo. Mm-hmm. Those expenses are on you.
Yeah.
So you want to get the best fitting deal for you.
Absolutely.
Explain that, like how important that is.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a good point that you made. You definitely want to make sure that you have a cushion of money when you go into your house. And that's why it's important that your realtor learns how to get your closing costs paid by the seller so that you're only worried about your down payment. There are also other programs out here. Let's say you don't have 3.5% of let's say $100,000 house, to use a round number. That's $3,500. Everybody's not walking around here with $3,500 for a down payment. That real rap, you know. So there are also down payment assistance programs, also known as DPA. All right, down payment assistance, an acronym. But look, what do they go off of? Your credit score.
Yeah.
Boom. Now we're back to the credit.
So
with that all being said, maybe you don't have the funds to make a down payment. You have the down payment assistance, but you have to make sure your credit's right.
Right.
Moving on back to the point of what you said, you definitely want to have a little bit of cash just in case, because the day after closing, or that day, the moment you sign to get those keys, this is now your house and now your responsibility.
Real.
Right. We're going to have a home with Scott Estates. We make sure that we put a home warranty in place. You know,
Right.
now mind you, they're not miracle workers, but they help out. It's like having car insurance.
Right.
Home warranty programs are going to try to get out of fixing your furnace, fixing your water heater, but nonetheless, it's good to have in place because sometimes they have to go ahead and bite that bullet and they have to pay. But you want to also have your own funds for a leaking pipe that you didn't expect or whatever. Man, things go home. It's a house.
And to speak on that, I went on vacation one time, came back, whole downstairs is like flooded.
Ooh, you're sick. Ooh, bad time.
And that's like coming back from a vacation. So when you look, I say that to bring this point up. When you look, tell people how important it is not to be house poor.
Oh, hey man.
Say I set that up.
Look,
for this right here.
hey, look, man. He didn't give me any questions, right? Like this is all top of the dome.
We off top.
Yeah, we off top, and so you struck a nerve. That's a real reaction right there, bro. I've been house poor, man, and it is tough, man. It's tough, man, being house poor, and being house poor, for those of you who do not know what that means, it means basically having all your money swamped into houses. All right. You don't have any liquid money to move around. Therefore, you put yourself in a position where you need to sell your house. Well, houses don't sell in 2 seconds. Even if they do go off the market in a day, it's still 45 days that you're going to go through this process. And what happens is, with the pressure of you needing the money out of that house, it creates bad decisions, because desperation creates bad decisions. Right. Therefore, when you make desperate moves, you end up losing out and not getting the full investment out of your house because you need the money so bad. You're like, hey, I can't even be aggressive with the buyer because they have the leverage and they don't even know it. But you know you don't have the leverage because you need this house. You need it sold.
And that term falls under the terms quick sales.
There you go. Quick, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you guys get in the house, man, make sure it's something. What is it, like 2 to 3 checks, 2.5?
Yeah. So they say you want to have 3 months. 3 months of reserves. Yeah. Just to be safe. All right. Obviously, I had to start training myself to know that, okay, Mike, the same money I'm making now is not going to be the same money I'm making 6 months. So it's a balance between having those reserves and not being stuck saying, I'm always going to make what I'm making now. Yes, I had to tell some of my clients, they're like, man, I want to make sure I can afford this house in 2 years. Well, you're going to get promoted.
Yes, and that's,
you're going to build up. So.
And I think that's kind of where I made, well, like you said, it ain't a mistake because you didn't know.
Yeah.
I bought a house like lower, but now if I knew what I knew now, I would.
So you could probably. You would have invested in yourself a little bit more. You would have trusted myself and had some faith in yourself. And I definitely encourage our clients to, when you're buying a house, it's a balance between playing it safe and taking a chance on yourself, taking a risk on yourself. And I gauge my client where they are. A single mother with 4 kids, we don't have time to really play the game of taking that risk.
Right.
A male or guy or a woman who's by themselves, you can be a little bit more aggressive in taking a little bit more of a risk, and kind of pushing those limits a little bit more, especially if you're a little bit younger, maybe 20s, 30s or something like that. You have the space to make those risks, man, and if things don't work out, then you have time to rebound and get it back.
Okay. Now, with that being said, the next thing, explain what foreclosure is to some people that don't know.
So there are a couple of different types of foreclosures. You have tax foreclosure, you have mortgage foreclosures, and what happens is in the tax foreclosure, that means, so here in Indiana, you pay your taxes twice a year. All right, so you're like, what's that, May and November, I think it is. And if you get behind, what's that?
It's coming up.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely coming up. It's coming up. If you don't pay 3 cycles of your taxes, your home goes into a tax sale.
Yeah.
All right. So then investors are riding past your house, creeping by like the fans.
Wait.
Like,
I'm
putting a bid on that house. Like, you're living in this house, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't pay 3 cycles, so if you don't pay a May, November, May, or November, May, November, or whatever it is, then you're going to the tax sale. Now, you would have a year, right? You delinquent. You would have a year redemption period And mind you, that's a little bit more complicated than I'm trying to get right now. Okay. You know, so
we're getting that further.
Yeah, sure. But as far as mortgage, I think it's 3 payments. Mm-hmm. You know, it seems like
90
3
days.
90 days.
And it's for real. It ain't. Listen, it ain't one of them, and you can vouch for this. It's not one of them. All right, I'm gonna pay y'all when I get it. That 90 days is legit.
Yeah.
90 days.
Yeah. Straight up. Like, I mean, at that point, it's no games. You know, I mean, you can hope to get out that situation. I had someone call me the other day who was behind, and one person I was able to maneuver them out the situation. Okay. Another individual was just too late. You know what I mean? So if you find yourself getting behind and you see it coming,
that's what I wanted you to speak on.
Yeah, get ahead of the curve. Get ahead of the curve. Reach out to me. Reach out to one of our team members. Reach out to a realtor in general and get ahead of the curve. I have experience in that way where, you know, if you're getting behind, we have people in place, whether it be an investor, just to get you out the situation. You know what I mean? Because you much rather get out the situation now, maybe kind of lose your investment for now, but be able to start over fresh versus you trying to hold on tight to that investment. Next thing you know, you got a mortgage foreclosure on your record that's going to stick around for 17 years.
And how hard is that to bounce back once you got that foreclosure on
Come on, man. You might as well go ahead and, you want to chalk it up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or hope your spouse or your partner can get them a house or something. But nah, you don't want that on you. You don't want that on you at all, man. It's a bad look on so many different levels.
Okay, and that ties back into getting something you can afford plus taking a gamble on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? That balance.
Okay, another thing, hot topic. Can you explain to people what equity is?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's man. You got some good topics. I'm glad that I'm experienced, man. Because some people out here, man, you get them up here, they be like, well, let me get back to you on that. No, but equity. So equity is basically the space you've built into an asset. I'll probably give you an example. I don't know the definition.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So you have a house you bought for $200,000 back in 2010. All right, you've paid that down to $150,000 over the last 10 years, for example. So now you owe $150,000.
Right. You've
built up $50,000 in equity. Not to mention the value of the neighborhood went up. So now the home is worth $225,000. Now you have $75,000 in equity in your house.
So whose money is that equity?
That's essentially yours. Yeah, because even what you can do is so different banks and mortgage companies have different programs where they'll allow you to take out a certain percentage of that equity.
80% of it.
Exactly. So if you own the house 6 months, maybe they'll give you 70% of that equity. Yeah. Or if you own the house for a year, they'll give you 90% of that equity. Yeah. So, and that's straight cash with a very low interest rate because they have the house to back up the possibility of you defaulting. Yeah. All right, so let's just say $100,000 house. It's worth $150,000. You have $50,000 in equity. You go to the bank and say, "Hey, bank, I need 70% of that $50,000." That's $35,000 in equity. I mean, $35,000 a check that they'll cut you with a very low interest rate for you to go and buy you another rental.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Now you own a rental for $35,000.
Explain what the equity money is.
Come on, man. For. You know what I mean? Credit and equity, man. We'll probably hold a class on that. You got my mind working right now. Yeah. But yeah, so then that's how the equity starts working, and then that's how that credit starts working. Because now we back to credit. You can't get the equity out the house unless your credit's signed.
Unless your credit.
And what you do is take that $35,000. Let's just say for example, you go and buy a house for $30,000, and you build some equity in that. You keep on.
It's like a building. It's like paying yourself back.
Straight up.
And explain to them. Okay, let's say you don't want to take the route with taking 85% out. And you have that 150, or say you bought it for 100, and then it's worth 150 now. What happens after you sell that house?
Man, that's all coming back to you.
That's the part.
Yeah, that's coming back, and that's why buying is. I've heard a couple of people kind of not buying a house, and I get it because sometimes they're always interest heavy on the front end. Right. But you let me know what other situation you want to be in. Do you want to rent? Because guess what? That's all basically interest.
Yes.
You're not getting a dollar back of that. At least when you're buying, you're paying down some of the principal. And then on top of that, if you make an extra principal payment a year, you cutting off, I think it's 7 years off your mortgage.
Yeah.
So that's just one extra payment. So if you're paying $800 a month, for 12 months, that's a year, and then you just throw in another $800 at some point in that process, you're going to cut down your mortgage from 30 years to 23 years. I think that's the number.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So you cut that down, man. So
because
that's what mine's so
it's paying towards the principal versus having it out there, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And as you pay towards that principal, now your interest changes because now you're paying less money on. You're paying less interest because it's a lesser amount.
Right.
10% on 50,000 is more than 10% on 5,000, for example.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
And that ties all back into the credit.
Credit, man. Seriously,
the credit,
man.
like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's a couple other questions?
Let me think of some things too.
Yeah, we off the top with it.
Yeah, we on top. Let's talk about maybe new builds versus pre-existing. I don't know if that's an interest, but maybe
that's something people need to know. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just as far as pre-existing, which means a home that's already standing versus getting a home built. I was just with a client today, and they asked me, as a couple, and they asked me, is it more expensive to build new? And the answer is no. It's not more expensive to build new. It's everything in real estate is dependent upon the next item. And really that next item is location. Location is everything.
Everything.
Location is everything in this business. So as I gave an example to my clients that, if you build a new house out in the countryside, let's just say you build a new house and it's $200,000, it's 3,000 square feet, which is a pretty decent sized house in Indiana.
Right.
If you get a pre-existing home in downtown that is 1,000 square feet right in the gut of downtown, it may be $400,000. So
explain to
you see what I'm saying? Location.
Location.
You know, as you get, especially here in Indianapolis now, and it's changing. As you start getting closer to downtown, the prices are obviously getting up. Our downtown is becoming more and more desirable at this point. So location plays a huge role. So it's not necessarily more or less to build new. It's all about the different dynamics of it and where you are building. But really, if you want to just take a situation, really building is not that much more expensive. It's not even more expensive. They're
about neck and neck.
Yeah, they're pretty much neck and neck, straight up.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of people, that's a lot of questions about building. Should I build or get a pre-existing home? Should I get a foreclosure? Like what's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's it is.
Yeah.
And it all depends on location and economy.
Absolutely.
Okay. So explain the market right now as of today versus back in 2011, because you know what I mean, a lot of people don't know what the effects of a recession, what the recession was and how it affected the home.
Yeah.
Basically why we had that big bubble.
Sure.
Okay.
So in respects to that time, people have actually been discussing a new recession coming, which I was going to ask. Yeah, I don't really personally think it's going to be, to nowhere near an extent of that 2009 area, whatever year that was exactly. But everything happens in waves. That's life in general. Right. Everything happens in trends, in waves, and things of that nature. So I was just once again seeing my clients an hour before I got here, and I was telling them, they asked me the same question. What's the outlook? And I said that I could see it leveling out a little bit because last year was crazy.
It was everybody housing was at their peaks.
Bruh.
Last year. Dude, it was wild.
It was crazy, man. Last year, sales, man, the sellers were winning.
Yeah.
And it's still a seller's market right now, but I can tell it's calmed down a little bit. It's not as aggressive as it was prior. So with that all being said, I see Indiana kind of leveling out a little bit, but mind you, I don't think it's a point. Once again, my clients were asking me, should we wait to buy? I said, I don't think you should wait to buy. Right. The reason being, overall, the prices of Indiana homes are going to continue to rise.
Yeah,
because Indianapolis is it's growing, man. They're trying to make us a big city, not to my liking, but nonetheless, it is what it is. But overall, the trajectory of our real estate is going up. We are one of the hottest real estate states in the country. So I would say this is the time to get in. Now is not too late, to get in and get yourself a home. Winter's coming up, fall and winter here, and this is a great time to buy.
Yeah, because to my understanding with the market, when school's starting, that's when the sales is going. If you get in right now, and this is the time where it's kind of calm and you can kind of search for what you want.
Yeah, you can kind of search a little bit more comfortably, man. In that, April, May, June, July, little bit of August. It's different out here, bro.
Yeah, it's savage.
Savage life, bro. I mean,
You like explain to them on how dragging your feet to place a bid on the house or one house you ain't sure about. Tell them.
Oh man,
I've had that mistake.
I'm gonna tell you what happened, man. Let me tell you a crazy situation. I had a client, and we made an offer on the house. The seller countered on the house